This episode of the D-Lew podcast is brought to you by Happy Wrap. You ever wanted to design your very own gift wrapping paper? Now is your chance to do so. Whether it's for the holiday season, weddings, anniversaries, birthdays, no matter what the occasion calls for, you can use Happy Wrap to wrap your gifts. As a matter of fact, you can even design notebooks, greeting cards, gift tags, and so much more. You can sign up today at happy.thedlewpodcast.com and use the promo code DLEW to get your 10% discount at checkout. Again, that's happy.thedlewpodcast.com and use promo code DLEW to get your 10% discount at checkout. By Simpler Hair Color. Hey guys, are you tired of using that drugstore hair dye brand that isn't getting the job done? If you want to use a great product to cover those grays, have no fear, Simpler Hair Color is here. No mixing, no dripping, no mess. It's super easy to use, whether you're a beginner or a pro. Go to simpler.thedlewpodcast.com and use promo code DLEW10 for your 10% discount at checkout. Again, that's simpler.thedlewpodcast.com and use my promo code DLEW10 for your 10% discount at checkout. And by WWE Shop with Fanatics. Get your favorite WWE superstars merchandise and wear them proud with superstars like the OTC Roman Reigns, Rhea Ripley, the Second City Saint CM Punk, John Cena, Main Event Jey Uso, the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, and so many more. Oh, by the way, they got some really cool championship belts in there as well. So go to wrestling.thedlewpodcast.com. Again, that's wrestling.thedlewpodcast.com so you can go to WWE Shop with Fanatics. This podcast is a Believe Network and Siete production. Welcome to another edition of the D-Lew podcast powered by Believe Network. I'm your host, Derrick T. Lewis, and what a weekend SummerSlam was, but what a week in the world of professional wrestling, especially in the world of the WWE, because on Wednesday morning, it was just announced that WWE PLEs have been acquired by ESPN. That's right. Starting in January 2026, all premium live events will be shown on ESPN's direct-to-consumer streaming service, which starts on August the 21st, by the way, starting at $29.99 a month. Now, they put out a press release on Wednesday morning, and it states the following. WrestleMania will be part of ESPN's new direct-to-consumer streaming service starting in 2026, thanks to an agreement between World Wrestling Entertainment and ESPN. The deal, announced Wednesday, includes two-night events such as WrestleMania and SummerSlam, plus other WWE premium live events including Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, and Money in the Bank. WWE will produce the events for ESPN platforms, which will serve as their exclusive U.S. domestic home. WWE has an immense, devoted, and passionate fan base that we're excited to super serve on our new ESPN DTC platform, said Jimmy Pitaro, the ESPN chairman. This agreement, which features the most significant WWE events of the year, bolsters our unprecedented content portfolio and helps drive our streaming future. Also, is the opportunity for ESPN to stream WWE's pre- and post-event shows for all premium live events. We are proud to reinforce the E in ESPN as such an exciting juncture in its direct-to-consumer journey, Mark Shapiro, President and Chief Operating Officer of TKO, said in a statement. WWE premium live events are renowned for exactly the type of rich storytelling, incredible feats of athleticism, and can't-miss cultural tentpole experiences that have become synonymous with ESPN. Through our UFC relationship, we have experienced firsthand how transformational an ESPN presence can be, and we know this will be an exceptional partnership at a time of great innovation for both companies. ESPN will launch streaming service on August 21st with a $29.99 per month price point and will keep the linear network's name ESPN. The direct-to-consumer service will allow users to get all 7 of ESPN's domestic linear networks, in addition to ESPN on ABC and several other streaming options. The WWE events previously streamed on Peacock in 2025. So there you have it. It's official, guys. So, couple things. Now, I had put this teaser out on my TikTok yesterday and Instagram and all over my social media platforms. My TikTok went crazy yesterday because basically everyone was just up in arms because they were saying, "Oh, we got to pay for another platform. We have to pay for another streaming platform because if you think about it, obviously Netflix is, I think, was it $25 now? Then you got to consider Peacock, I think is what, 10.99, and their prices are going up, by the way. And I would imagine is as a result of WWE moving, moving these PLEs over to another platform. But also, if you think about it, if you have cable, like I said in the presser, that if you already have cable, like I do, I still have cable to this day, that you're getting this at no additional charge. So if you have cable already, whether it's Fios or Verizon Fios or Xfinity or Cox Cable or wherever you have your cable distributor, and you have ESPN as part of your package, you're also going to get this direct to consumer streaming service, and you're not paying an additional dime. So if you got cable, cool. If you don't have cable, still cool. You're gonna listen. You're gonna be getting the WWE, okay, premium live events. Okay, that's the first thing. Number two, they just acquired the NFL Network, and I think the NFL is getting like 10% revenue from that. I believe still, but nonetheless, if you're a big sports fan and you love wrestling, you love football, and you love all sports, that's your hub to go to. I think it's a bargain, and I'm looking forward to seeing, how this all plays out now with ESPN being a part of the WWE's premium live events. Think about it. Can you imagine having Sports Center at WrestleMania in Vegas next year, having Sports Center maybe in Saudi Arabia next year for Royal Rumble, maybe having Sports Center at the U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, Minnesota next year because that's where SummerSlam is going to be. So the opportunities are endless. And keep in mind, Pat McAfee also is with ESPN as well. He has his show on there, his daily show, plus he's doing College Game Day. So that relationship, it definitely adds. You know what I mean? So I'm excited about it. And I'm looking forward to seeing, the endless opportunities that the WWE is going to have with this new relationship with ESPN. But, and to me, they subliminally told you that this was coming. Stephanie's Places, that's hosted by Stephanie McMahon, is on what? ESPN Plus, produced by Omaha Productions, that's Peyton Manning's production company. So this had to be coming, and this was something that was in the works. People were up, like I said, people were up in arms about this, but you got to understand when you're these big corporations like the WWE, well, I guess TKO now, TKO and WWE, UFC, and all these companies like NBC Universal, Disney, Disney owns the ESPN, all these conglomerates, Amazon, who owns Prime Video. Streaming is what's in now. It's not the future, it's now. So eventually, in my opinion, in maybe 10 years, I believe cable's going to be obsolete and streaming is going to be the way to go because they're showing football games now on streaming apps. So for example, Thursday Night Football, you're getting it on Amazon Prime, right? Prime Video. The NFL is now showing games. I believe the Christmas game is being shown on Netflix. You know what I mean? You have all these things, all this streaming. And now the NBA is now going to this coming season. The NBA is going to be, I believe, the Tuesday and Thursday games are going to be shown on Prime Video. So money is being shelled out for, especially for sports entities, sports and entertainment entities. So this is not a shock. This has been in the works for quite some time. But there were some quotes that were made over the last day. I know Nick Khan, who's president of WWE, had this to say on a podcast episode that he was on with the Varsity, and it says the media rights marketplace, I think, to any reasonable person looking at it, has sort of become reflective, relatively speaking, of course, of the US economy, where the upper tier products continue to go up, the premium content continues to get premium pricing, and the lower tier content continues to sort of make its way. He continued, it's the middle that gets squeezed a bit. And fortunately, for WWE and our shareholders and our fans, we're not in the middle. So it's a significant step up. It's a great platform for us, and to have WWE, what we consider to be the number one sports entertainment product in the world, on the most family-friendly apparatus, ESPN, is big for all of us. So they're optimistic about this move. I think when you can have other athletes from other sports, you know, come onto the panels, you know what I mean, before a WrestleMania or a Royal Rumble or a SummerSlam, and they can come onto the panels and talk. Now, I did see where they said there's going to be post shows, you know, obviously with ESPN and that type of thing. And you know, I don't know if you guys noticed at SummerSlam, there was no longer a press conference. I think they're going away, you know, from press conferences, which kind of sucks for content creators like us because that was our time to get our questions in, whatever the case may be. I have my other theories on why press conferences were no longer, and we'll talk about that later in the show when it comes to what happened in SummerSlam Night 2. But nonetheless, you know, I'm optimistic about this move, you know, with WWE and ESPN. You know, we all love this genre of sports entertainment, pro wrestling, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it. And this is the closest we've ever been to this being accepted as mainstream. I think the previous owner of WWE, VKM, always wanted the company to be mainstream, accepted by mainstream, because for a long time it was a niche. It was just a niche product. Pro wrestling was. It was looked down upon. It was, ooh, you watch that stuff? I used to get it all the time when I was a kid. You watch that fake stuff, or that's all phony. Why do you watch that? And even as I've gotten older, and you know, now I'm in I'm almost 50 years old. People are saying, "Oh my God, like you still watch that?" People I graduated high school with, you still watch wrestling? You still watch wrestling? Yes, I do, and I'm so proud. You know what I mean? To still be involved. And now that I have a podcast where I talk about pro wrestling. You know what I mean? I've met so many people, you know, in this content space that are fans of this genre. So the closer we get to me, you know, wrestling gets to mainstream, and I'm including AEW too. I'm including TNA as well. I'm including MLW, and I'm including all independent companies as well because it's a trickle down effect. The better that the big companies do, you know, AEW, WWE, TNA, the better they do, the trickle down comes to the independents. Shout out to Monster Factory Pro Wrestling. Shout out to ECWA. Shout out to Fourth Rope. Shout out to Pro Wrestling Magic, ISPW up in North Jersey. Shout out to those guys. So the better, I'm going to reiterate it again, the better that WWE and the big companies do, it benefits the entire industry. Now, WWE's chief content officer, Paul Triple H Levesque, was on ESPN's Get Up, and he had discussed the company's new streaming partnership with ESPN that was set to begin, of course, next year in 2026. And he called the deal a perfect marriage and his single biggest opportunity for WWE, stating his excitement to be part of the Disney family. He promised that the partnership would elevate WWE's biggest shows to new heights, saying that nobody does large scale, massive events like ESPN. When we get together, things like WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble are going to be bigger than ever. They're going to be more of a spectacle than they've ever been before. So, again, like he said it and Nick Khan said it, you know, this is the perfect marriage for two of the biggest companies in the world to create magic. But this is where it gets really interesting because the WWE didn't mention anything about leaving Peacock all the way. Because right now there's still their old content, whether it's their past PLEs, there's NXT, there's the WCW programming, obviously, the AWA programming, World Class Championship Wrestling programming. And I feel as though that this is an opportunity, and I have no inside knowledge whatsoever, but it would make total sense. if they were to move AAA and TNA to Peacock. I think this will be a golden opportunity. Now that the WWE does not own TNA, but I think they can prop them up and position them into getting that deal, whether it's on Peacock or even USA Network, which I think will be a really good spot for TNA. But now that WWE owns AAA, that would be a major, major move for them. That company, now that they own it, to put them on a platform like Peacock, so the entire world that may not be familiar with AAA wrestling will now have it at their fingertips on Peacock. They have a pay-per-view on August 16th, Triple Mania, which is going to be headlined by a fatal four-way match for the AAA championship with the champion Vikingo defending against El Grande Americano, Dragon Lee, and Dominic Mysterio. So I'm looking forward to that, but I just think that I feel that something's coming up down the pike for something else to fill that void for Peacock. I could be totally wrong, but I'm super optimistic that, more wrestling can be put on that platform. Well, we're going to end that there about this whole move from ESPN with WWE, and we're going to talk about last weekend's SummerSlam. Now, usually I would go down the entire card, but quite frankly, I'm just going to highlight some of the matches that I enjoyed, and of course, there's some things I really have to discuss regarding night two. But first of all, I got to say that this SummerSlam was special for personal reasons because I got to take my stepdaughter to her very first PLE. Got her, took her there, but also I took her to meet her favorite pro wrestler, Rhea Ripley. And not only did she meet her, but she got the photo out with her. So that was her birthday gift from me. And I wanted her to really get the experience of, what a big, big WWE event is all about. So she had a great time, which meant I had a great time. But let's talk about SummerSlam. Of course, it emanated from MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey on August 2nd and 3rd. A combined 113,722 fans of the WWE universe were in the house, and I got to tell you, this was incredible because it really goes to show you that pro wrestling is in a really, really good place. I was just at All In a couple of weeks ago where they had their biggest North American attendance to date. TNA just had their pay-per-view on Long Island and they had their largest attendance to date. So the fact that TNA, AEW, and WWE was able to record this type of revenue, in this climate right now just really goes to show you once again that the sports entertainment pro wrestling genre is in a very, very stable place. And I look forward to bigger and better things for all companies down the road. But a couple matches I want to talk about that really stood out to me. And number one, you got to talk about on night one rather. Of course, the tag team match that consists of Roman Reigns and Jey Uso as they took on Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. Oh, first off, I got to say, Bronson coming down the ramp with the sneakers tied around his neck, I just thought was just extremely funny. I really mean that because now they're calling him now the tribal thief, which I thought was completely hilarious. And of course, now they're going to call it the Shula Fala. Shout out to Paul Heyman with he's one of the best wordsmiths in the history of the industry. But of course, you start off right. Jey Uso coming out, through the crowd, and Roman Reigns. I mean, man, you got to, it's just a sea of people. You can just be in the crowd. I was in the upper section, so I got a chance to really see, and all the ones going up around the stadium was just incredible. And you know, everything you want in a tag match. You want to start hot. Of course, the heels got their heat. Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, I feel, should be wearing some tag team gold soon. Like I said last week's episode, because I feel that it'll add more to that stable that they have right now by adding the tag team titles. But nonetheless, they were able to get some heat on the baby faces, and next thing you know, first of all, Roman Reigns doing a freaking suicide dive over the top rope. He cleaned it. Not only did he clean it, but he almost like went past the guys, Breaker and Reed. I couldn't believe it. And I mean, he could have hurt himself, but he knew how to land. But man, that was incredible to see. But again, of course, Jey Uso, got the splash, got the 1, 2, 3 on Bronson Reed, and of course, Reigns and Jey Uso walk out victorious. Another match that had me on the edge of my seat that night was Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul taking on Randy Orton and Jelly Roll. Let me tell y'all this. When I was saying that Jelly Roll was going to surprise a lot of y'all, I meant it because he even had me convinced at one point when Logan Paul had did the splash on Jelly Roll on the table that Jelly Roll was legit hurt. I mean, literally, I was just like, there's no way. And Jelly Roll sold, and sold some more, and more, and more, and more. And man, when he was able to, the paramedics were trying to get him out of there, and he just refused. And after a while, and the fans started getting behind him. And when that hot tag happened, whew, MetLife Stadium went crazy. And it told an incredible story, of a guy that was not going to give up, and he gets pro wrestling. He understands the psychology of it. He trained. I mean, it was over a month, I know that, but he had a broken finger, like maybe the first week of training or the first day of training. I can't remember, but he went there with a broken finger. Here's a guy selling millions of records. He could be laying on the beach somewhere, but no, he wants to go wrestle. That's how addicting this genre is of pro wrestling. It truly is. And I was really happy for him. He did get pinned, and the right business decision was moved. Obviously, have him get the pin, but you forget about him getting pinned. You forget about him losing. Instead, you talk about the overall performance, and that's what it's all about. Of course, the main event was CM Punk and Gunther. I gotta say, this, and I've seen every SummerSlam since the first one in 1988, and I always put the British Bulldogs and the Fabulous Rougeau brothers as my top favorite SummerSlam matches of all time. That went to a time limit draw. The first match, the opening match of SummerSlam '88. There's been CM Bret Hart and the British Bulldog. There's been obviously the ladder match in '95 with Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels. The ladder match with Triple H and The Rock at SummerSlam '98. There's the TLC match from SummerSlam 2000 with the Hardys, the Dudleys, and Edge and Christian. I mean, Booker T and The Rock from 2001, Shawn Michaels and Triple H from 2002. There's so many matches at SummerSlam that you could talk about. Hell, I could even talk about Kurt Angle and Rey Mysterio for SummerSlam 2002. That was an incredible match. But CM Punk and Gunther put on one of the greatest wrestling matches in SummerSlam history. Shout out to Punk wearing a Fantastic Four jacket with the 4 stars Chicago flag on it. I thought that was really cool. Nice touch. And again, it really highlighted what he can do and highlighted what Gunther can do. Well, what I didn't even know this, that he literally was wrestling with a broken nose. God's a warrior. And he chopped Punk. He chopped him and chopped him and chopped. My God. And Punk just kept taking it. He kept taking the punishment. He kept taking it. And I was on the edge of my seat the entire night. And of course, Gunther goes outside, goes on the announce table. Punk gets, clears the cobwebs, and he tumbles Gunther over, and he starts, of course, bleeding, busted open. And just when you think that Gunther had the sleeper on him, Punk gets out of there, and he hits it with 2 GTSs. 1, 2, 3. CM Punk is the new World Heavyweight Champion. Now, me and Gabby last week on the show stated that a certain someone with a briefcase was going to come out and cash in and beat Punk for the title. Now, of course, Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman come out, and Rollins is on his crutches, And he's more or less saying, reminding Punk, hey man, I'm the guy that got this. I got the briefcase, which means anytime, any place, when I get better, and everyone's thinking, oh, he's still hurt, he's still hurt. Rollins turns around and he drops the crutches, and that place went crazy. He took off the knee brace, took off his shirt, runs down the aisle, and he beats Punk up with the briefcase. With the briefcase, knocks him out, and cashes in Money in the Bank and wins the World Heavyweight Championship. I could not believe it. I mean, again, I predicted it, but it's still cool to happen, to see it happen rather. So, if I'm not mistaken, that was my very first cash in that I've ever seen live. I never saw a cash in before, so that was cool to see. And everyone, I was saying, you know what? That was a pretty solid night one. That was a pretty solid night one. All right, now we're gonna move on to night two, and it kicked off with a bang, of course, with the triple threat match for the Women's World Championship with Naomi defending against Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. First off, having Rhea come out first, you definitely want to get the crowd up and going. My stepdaughter was screaming for her favorite wrestler. And man, they had the purple smoke when she, stomped her, her foot, this boom and all this purple smoke, which I thought was a nice touch. Io came out to a nice pop, but man, Naomi, again, I love this new proceed with caution, with the yellow tape and all that. But her dad came out and played her to the ring, playing guitar to her theme. And it is so hard to boo her. It is so hard to boo Naomi because she's worked so hard and for so long, at WWE. Think about this. She's been in the WWE since 2009 when FCW was developmental before NXT, before the NXT deal. And to see this transformation, this metamorphosis into this kind of psycho character she's playing right now, I think is great. But again, it's so hard to boo her. And again, like WrestleMania, triple threat match, except you swap out Naomi, you put in Bianca. The match really, I mean, again, you could call it a show stealer because they did everything. And just when you thought they reached the limit, they took it higher and higher and higher. I love the finish. You know, Rhea's getting ready to pin Io after she hit her with her finish, and Naomi just rose her up and grabs the tights and got out of there and got the win and retained the title. I thought that was a smart thing to do. Nobody loses any type of we call it equity, so to speak, especially Rhea getting pinned. She cheated. Well, Naomi cheated rather. So of course, the babyface stays strong. So, kudos to all three women for putting on a great performance. Getting the crowd. What you're supposed to do is, to get the crowd going. At the beginning of a PLE. The the six team TLC match, for the WWE tag team titles. You had the Wyatt Six. That was Dexter Loomis and Joe Gacy. Shout out to Joe Gacy, CZW's Joe Gacy. On a WWE PLE. I thought that was really 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 cool. Glad he's definitely made the big time. Of course, you had Andrade and Ray Phoenix, DIY, Fraxium, Motor City Machine Guns, and the Street Profits. It's crazy that the Street Profits have not been on a PLE in 18 months right before SummerSlam. That is insane to me. Like that's ridiculous. You know, um, it was everything you would expect in a match like this with 12 guys. I mean, people going through tables. You're hitting people with chairs. You're climbing the ladder. To try to get to that to get to the belts. They tried to do the Edge of Jeff Hardy spot from WrestleMania 17, where Jeff was hanging on to the rungs and Edge was on the ladder and tried to spear him. I can't remember who was I think I'm thinking it was one of the machine guns. I'm not sure. Maybe I forget who it was, but it was Tommaso Ciampa who was hanging. he he saw it and he just lifted his legs up. He's like, you ain't getting me. So that got a chuckle out of the crowd. But nonetheless, the Y6 did retain the titles. I know the women got involved. B-Fab got involved, Nikki Cross got involved, and Candice LeRae. Oh my God, going through a ladder and the ladder shattered. I'm just like, damn. She, all three of them. A lot of people took a lot of bumps in that match, so I'm glad they all made it out unscathed. And hopefully we could see some more matches. Obviously with the Y6 holding on to the titles. I mean, maybe a Motor City Machine Guns Y6 program can happen. We'll see. I know they had did an interview, a backstage interview after SummerSlam. It was during the post show, and the Street Profits were not happy. I don't know if this means are they going to turn heel or are they going to split? I mean, I don't know, but nonetheless, we'll see what happens from there. There was a no DQ, no count out last chance match for the women's IC title with Becky defending against Lyra Valkyria. Becky coming out to a new theme. I absolutely like it. It's different because for your heel, you don't want the crowd to be chanting, "Whoa, whoa." No, you don't want the crowd to chant that. That's perfect. That theme is perfect for her right now. Maybe when she comes around the corner somewhere down the line, when she turns babyface again, maybe they can bring that old theme back. But I like this. I like this a lot. Now, fans, fans, you guys got to be a little more respectful to our wrestlers because throughout that match, the most of the crowd were not interested in the match. They were more interested in doing the wave around the stadium, and there were chants of this match sucks and all of that, and I was like, that's a little unfair. They put their time in getting this match, on SummerSlam, and they put enough, I guess, equity into this feud, for this blow off match, because of course, if Lyra loses, then of course she can't challenge for that title again as long as Becky's the champion. So she had with the arm, I guess she had the little ties, what you call it. Her hands were just tied together, and she couldn't defend herself. And then eventually she goes under the ring, and of course, she cuts the ties, and she's able to have her hands free again. But then, of course, who comes out? Bayley, just like as I predicted. And I think Becky was going to give Bayley, I think, a pipe or something to hit Lyra with. But instead, she threw it down, and then Becky tried to throw a punch at her, and Bayley started going to fisticuffs. But the match ends where Bayley accidentally hits Lyra Valkyria, and Becky gets the pin and retains the women's Intercontinental Championship. And as I stated, I feel now the program is going to go to rather Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. They can get a couple of months of a feud going. And maybe, who knows, maybe this could be they're being involved in a Survivor Series women's War Games match. I don't know, because I mean, think about it. We're in August now. September, October, November. We're about 3.5 months away from Survivor Series, so you never know what might happen between now and then. But I mean, I enjoyed the match. I just wish that the fans were a little bit more respectful and not making the match seem so bad. That's just my opinion. The match wasn't bad. It was just, I don't know. I just don't know. The cage match with for the U.S. title with Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu, I thought was, man, that headgear, that wolf headgear that Fatu had on, I thought was awesome. That crowd was so behind Fatu. Let me tell you something. I stated this on shows last year about Jacob Fatu, about how he's going to end up being the biggest babyface that company's ever seen. One of the reasons why I think the fans, I guess, he resonates with so many fans is because he's real and he's authentic. He's himself. So many fans can see through the phony these days, whether you're portraying something or you're not, you know what I mean, rather than just being you. And I think Jacob Fatu is doing such a great job of just letting people in. This is his authentic self. But everything you would expect in a steel cage match, of course, he brought the MFT down, Tala Tonga, Tonga Loa. You know what I mean? He brought those guys down. So you would expect some interference to happen, and that's exactly what happened. But nonetheless, Solo does retain the U.S. title. But of course, you get your babyface. You got to get your comeuppance, right? Jacob goes to the top of the cage and does a moonsault on the heels. Everyone laughs. Not everyone laughs, but everyone cheers. Everyone's happy, and it's like, all right, cool. Jacob will get him next time. We'll see. We'll see what happens. The IC title match with Dominic and AJ. I said it was going to be a sleeper match, and people really didn't think how the match was going to go. I loved it. They did some tributes to Eddie Guerrero. Of course, AJ comes out in a lowrider because here I am. I'm taking pictures of AJ about to come out of down the aisle, and this guy's coming out in a lowrider. I'm like, oh my god. But Dominic Mysterio, think about this. 5 years ago, he debuted at SummerSlam. He debuted at SummerSlam against Seth Rollins in front of no crowd. And to see where he is now, this kid is an incredible professional wrestler. He really, really is. I enjoy his work. I enjoy everything that he's doing. And he's going to be a future WWE champion somewhere down the line. He's going to be a future world champion because he just gets it. Just some of these second generation wrestlers, when you're born into the business, you just get it. Most of them get it, and he does. And they did an Eddie tribute where AJ was yanking at his foot. He pulls the boot off. You know what I mean? That's what Eddie did at WrestleMania 20 against Kurt Angle. They even did another Eddie spot where Dominic gives him the chair. He falls. And what does AJ do? He puts a chair around his neck, falls down, and he's twitching. And the referee doesn't know what to do. I just thought it was hilarious. That was just really good comic relief. But of course, Dominic hits him with a foreign object, hits the frog splash, 1, 2, 3, and he retains the Intercontinental Championship. And then, of course, the main event with Cody Rhodes and John Cena. Cody comes out, with some old Dusty Rhodes sound bites. The view never changes, baby. The view never changes. That was from a promo he did with Dustin Rhodes so many years ago. By the way, healing energies to Dustin Rhodes. He has to get, I believe, both knees replaced, and that dude just doesn't stop. And I hope he comes back healthy and strong, and comes back and reclaim that TNT title in AEW. But had to put that out there. But Cody comes out with that headgear on, and man, crowd was booing him. Most of the crowd was booing him. John Cena comes out with the black and of course the black background and the white letters. Then Avenue, all the bright colors happen, come on the screen, and we're back to full-fledged babyface John Cena. And that match went 37 minutes and 45 seconds, and it was a street fight, everything you would expect in a street fight. They went all over the stadium. I think at one point they went under the stage, and they had that riser, for Cody. All you saw, because I saw a hole. I mean, the riser was down. I'm like, wait a minute, because I was sitting right by, I was on the side of the stage, and I could see, I'm like, something's about to happen. And all it was Cena had Cody on the riser on his shoulders, and the thing just rose up, and that's all you saw was Cena with Cody on his back. No blood or anything like that. You didn't need that, but weapons were used. A lot of threw some caution to the wind with some of a suplex on the guardrail. I'm just like, damn. Cena does that top rope leg drop. I'm just like, oh, they're playing the hits. The match was great. So many near pinfalls. You know what I mean? Several AAs, several crossroads. They're both kicking out. They're both kicking out. Next thing you know, Cody does the Cody cutter on a table to John Cena. And Cena's on the rope, on the second rope, and Cody does a salute, does the crossroads, 1, 2, 3. Cody Rhodes is once again your undisputed WWE champion. And they exchange pleasantries. You can definitely See Cody crying when John says something to him, and Cody, he left the ring. And sometimes, when you beat a legend, you just leave the ring and let the guy that lost, you let him have the moment and soak it up with the crowd. Right, me and I'm ready to leave. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get out of here. Well, oh boy. 5 seconds later, you just hear the music. Brock Lesnar is back. He comes down, does his his whole deal, and boom, pyros up, and I couldn't believe it. We haven't seen this guy in 2 years, and he goes down to the ring, circles the ring, gets in the ring, and F5's John Cena gets up and he leaves. Brock Lesnar has long hair now, but I necessarily wasn't too thrilled to see him back because there are some things that are still ongoing involving Brock Lesnar and Vince McMahon regarding the sex trafficking scandal with Janelle Grant. And for me, having women on your roster and you're not even considering how they feel about things, because I know people talk, people know what's going on. Everyone has seen those text messages. Think about this for a second. A representative of Janelle Grant, the subject of the sex trafficking scandal, released a statement saying, for far too long, abuse was allowed to thrive under WWE's leadership. Instead of righting this wrong, WWE has done nothing to ensure those responsible and held accountable. This attempt to sweep misconduct under the rug will backfire. We will look forward to the full set of facts, including those about Mr. Lesnar, coming out in a court of law where they belong. But in the meantime, we refer you back to Janelle Grant's updated complaint, which outlines in detail the abuse she endured by McMahon and others while employed at WWE. She also shared revised sections of Grant's lawsuit, which named Brock Lesnar and alleged that McMahon had arranged Lesnar to receive explicit content of Grant as an incentive to resign a new deal in WWE in 2021. So, again, just when you think that, oh, everything is all good, and it's like, damn, really? I Triple H said the night before I guess the end of night one rather, at the post show that, oh, if you thought this was something, you ain't seen nothing yet. And I actually was on WWE social media after SummerSlam, which they actually posted on their social media, by the way. And that's exactly what I said on camera because it's true. Because I did not see that coming at all. I know he stated, it was time for Brock to come home or whatever. There were some that said that John Cena requested it. I mean, I don't know what to believe, but I thought they were doing a damn good job of distancing themselves away from Brock Lesnar because of these allegations. Like, these allegations are nothing to toy with. They're nothing to toy with. Hunter has 3 girls. He has daughters. You know what I mean? Like, you got to think about these things. But again, who am I? But what I was going to say is that that's one of the reasons why I thought that there was no press conference at after SummerSlam. You know what I mean? Like, there was no press conference at all. And I was just wondering, I wonder why. But, if they're doing away with the press conferences and just doing post shows now that they're going to be moving to ESPN, well, okay, I get it. But I just, I don't know. I just did not leave SummerSlam with a good feeling, because SummerSlam, in my opinion, wiped WrestleMania 41 under the mat. I mean, they wiped the rug with them. WrestleMania was just like, eh. SummerSlam, 2 thumbs up. So I'll leave that there for now. But like I said, overall, it was an incredible weekend. Like I said, I had such a great time. Meeting up with so many fans. Shout out to Busted Open Radio. They had their booth, outside of MetLife Stadium and parking lot letter F, where I was able to check out Dave, Bully, Tommy, and Mark Henry, give their predictions about SummerSlam and just got to see Keith Elliott Greenberg. Shout out to him. Shout out to Deb in Allentown. Shout out to you. And it was just a host of people that I ran into, at SummerSlam. And for those that I didn't run into, I do apologize about that. But when you're dealing with 50,000, 60,000 people, it is really, really hard to like find people over like parking lots and things of that nature. But anyway, well, I'm gonna wrap this, episode up, but of course you can check me out this weekend, do my ring announcer thing at the world famous Mazda Factory at the Larry Sharp Memorial Cup tournament. If you go to Mazda Factory's social media, you can get the link where you can get tickets. Bell time is at 2 p.m. Don't forget, guys, if you haven't done so already, to subscribe to the D-Lew podcast on all platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Pandora, and my YouTube channel. So if you go to my YouTube channel, and again, you can go on the search engine and search Derrick T. Lewis, the D-Lew podcast, or the real DT Lew, whichever one. Make sure you go there, hit the bell. And when you get the drop down, make sure you hit all so you get all new content every time there's something on my YouTube channel. But like I said, on any of the other podcast feeds, just go and you can just hit subscribe and you'll get all new episodes every single time. You can follow the D-Lew podcast on all social media platforms at the D-Lew podcast. You can follow me on all social media at the real DT Lew, with the exception of Facebook, which is Derrick T. Lewis official page. You can go to my pro wrestling tee store, okay, guys? All my wrestling themed t-shirts at pwt.derricklewis.com. And of course, you can hit up the Derrick T. Lewis official merchandise store at shop.derricklewis.com. Where I'm going to get out of here. And as I always say, no matter what it is you do in life, always remember to make it count. See you next time.